Hey, what's good, beautiful people? This is me, the Infinity Midwife, coming to you once again. I hope you're taking care of your minds, your hearts, and your entire being. Okay, guys, so I'm coming in with another downloads. Now, if you have not checked the prior video that I did, it's in the playlist of Higher Perspective. You can find all the videos pertaining to having a certain understanding of, why we're living in the times that we're living in, why are we, as a species or as a human species, we are evolving in the times that we are evolving in, and primarily as souls, why are we coming into this evolved state of being or evolved state of, becoming more fulfilled as, sovereign souls or more, how should I say this? More independent souls, okay? So if you have not checked the last video I made yesterday, so that was a direct download. Most of the messages that I'll be doing is going to be live so that you can catch, right, the direct downloads that I receive. So yesterday it was pertaining to what is a curse, okay? So I broke down what it was, and you can go find it in my Higher Perspective playlist, okay? Now, I'm not into that whole YouTube, fishing for subscribers. If you like what you like. If, you want to stay tuned, you want to keep the notifications on, turn them on, so that you can get the messages or the downloads when I get them or when I come live. I might be doing lives, I might be doing recorded versions, but I'll try to keep it as raw as possible and as authentic as possible. Okay. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about the different types of curses that exist. Okay. So yesterday we talked about curses, right? And I'm not going to go over that, but just to reiterate what I was saying yesterday, a curse is a contract or an agreement to a set of belief, to a set of rules that is not in alignment with your soul signature or your soul calling or your soul mission. Okay. So that's what a curse is overall. Okay. But there are different types of curses, right? And that's what we're going to find out in this video. Okay. So let's jump right into it. The first type of curse that exists, right, are the soul curses, or some people want to call it the soul contracts. So prior into coming into those vessels, into those bodies, right, we selected the type of curses that we were going to have to fulfill. And what I mean by fulfill, I mean by breaking them. Okay. Because we all come here to become more evolved, not as an individual, but as a soul mainly, and by ricochet, an individual or a human or a species. Okay. So the more a soul is evolved, the more it's going to break free from the norms, the more it's going to break free. And when I mean by it's the soul that is encompassated in a vessel, okay, in this human meat suit, but is way bigger or is way larger than, what we see with our eyes, So we come on this dimension just like a video game, right? I like to use analogies sometimes. So just like a video game, right? When you select a player, let's say we're playing Mario Bros. Okay. And, you have Luigi, you have Mario, you have the Shroom, you have the princess. You can select whichever character you're going to want to fight the battles. Okay. And when you agree to choosing a character or a vessel, right, there is a set of mission or a set of curses that you're going to have to break, or a contract that you're going to have to fulfill. Okay. And so prior into coming into this earth, we all get to choose, right, the type of meat suit we're going to have, family we're going to come in, and the type of curses we need to break. And the more you evolve as a soul, the more curses you've broken, or the more contracts you fulfilled. Now, when I say contracts that you fulfilled, what I ultimately mean is contracts that you broke. Okay, that's very important to understand, or curses that you broke, because the mission of us coming over and over again on this plane is to, yes, win several battles, but ultimately is to have our souls liberated, right? So when we hear the word sovereign, right, it means that you're more independent. You have this autonomy about, your existence or your decisions and your free will and your responsibilities, because with great power comes great responsibility. So all these things is something that a soul is gonna experience in several lifetimes. Okay, so things that so the first type of curse that you're gonna break, or the first type that exists, is the soul contracts or the soul curses. And that one, or this type, that specific type, is related to many lifetimes, right? So it's specifically related to your soul, to the evolution of your soul. So if you had some form of curse that you had not broken in a past lifetime, people call it through reincarnation, you come back in order to fulfill, through a different meat suit, through a different character, that soul contract or that curse. You come back into this meat suit or a different meat suit in order to break that curse. And once you break that curse, your soul ascends, right? Or you get more illuminated, or you get more freedom, or you get more liberated as a soul. Okay, so that's the first type of curse or contract that a soul that is really much more attached to a soul. So it's not necessarily attached to the life experience, although it is intertwined, but it is not limited to the life experience. It can be coming from past lifetimes. It can be coming from, a story, or unfinished business between different dimension. Because again, if you understand that, there is no past, present, and future, everything is just intertwined, right? So you can access the past lifetimes, and you can access everything at once when you are connected to that light within. Okay, so when you accept to come into a meat suit, you choose a meat suit to break curses, right? You agree. You know exactly what your soul knows, exactly what it needs to, the type of curses that it needs to, or the type of contracts that it needs to agree upon, so that it has the opportunity through the life experience, through the different challenges of breaking that curse or fulfilling that contract ultimately, so that the soul can evolve. And that is why sometimes, some people are going to come into a family, right? You're going to have your siblings, you're going to have a mother, a father, and sometimes you're going to be at odds with each other, and you're not going to understand why or where is this coming from. Well, probably because in a different lifetime or a past lifetime, maybe you were at odds with your sibling. Your sibling was not necessarily your sibling. It was probably your enemy, or, it was a past lover that wanted to hold on to you, or that wanted to control everything about you. So there are different storylines, right? And if you are into mythologies, if you are into different traditions, you will find that there are many storylines that pertains to the evolution of the soul. And different traditions around the globe will have similar storylines, right? You will find into Greek mythologies a lot of repetitive stories. If you will find into ancient Egyptian similar stories, you will find into various kingdoms in Africa many various stories of the evolution of the soul through different storylines. And so that's what we call breaking curses so that the soul can evolve, right? So that is why, sometimes we come into this world, right? And then, we have to break some curses that are pertaining to a past lifetime that we did not fulfill, or a contract that we did not fulfill in a past lifetime, but we do have the opportunity to do it now. But because, the parameters are different, or, the characters are different, but they are maybe, in more closeness to you, you have a hard time identifying who are you really dealing with, because we're not just these meat suits. We're not just this identity, this 3D limited identity. Okay. So that's the first form of curse that you come into knowing of what it is, or what are the type of curses that is attached to your soul calling or your soul mission, right? And most oftentimes than not, the types of curses that you come to break, it is not only pertaining to you, right? You, the individual, right? You, the 3D individual. It is pertaining to a whole of souls that you're coming to liberate as well through your experience of you breaking that curse. Okay. So for instance, when we watch Mario, battling these different monsters, right? And going through these different chapters, these different worlds, ultimately is to get to the big battles, to the big boss battles, where, he gets to save the princess, he gets to save the shroom, he gets to save an entire nation of people, because had he not fought that battle or break that curse, people would have still kept or be prisoners of that same curse or that same contract, because we're all living on this plane as, humans. But again, it is bigger than just humanity, okay? It's humanity in a very evolved sense, where it's humanity having this experience. No, let me say that again. It's the consciousness of God having this human experience expressed through a unique signature that will be you, your vessel, all that you represent. Okay. So that's the first type of curses. Okay. So it's very broad. It's not, it is very broad because it's a bigger mission. It has a higher purpose. Okay. That's what I want to say. Now, the second type of curses that you're going to experience in this realm, right, is going to be much more limited, but it's still considered a curse, or it's still considered a contract. And those are going to be the one associated with your upbringing or with the identity of your vessel. Okay, so you're probably coming in a meat suit that has a color associated with it in a certain part of the world, with a certain culture, with a certain language, with a certain set of rules, with a certain set of beliefs, right, that are allowing the evolution of the soul, or that are hindering the evolution of the soul. Remember, in the first video, I talked about a backpack filled with contracts or curses that we are walking with, that has been passed down, not from necessarily our past lifetimes, but that has been passed down through our family line. So our inheritance, maybe, our mom's upbringing, our dad's upbringing, our DNA, our culture, our language, our family, how we related to one another, how we communicate. All these things can be seen or can be looked at as contracts that were maybe not necessarily your choice, but they were placed upon you or forced upon you. But because you have a higher calling to break a higher curse or a higher contract, you are going to have the right to look at these different types of, smaller types of curses that were placed onto your identity or onto your vessel that you're going to want to probably break free from, or you're probably going to want to keep for the evolution of your soul. Okay. So when we talk about, different types of caste systems, okay, if we take, for instance, in Africa, there are many, many countries that still practice, the system of caste, meaning, you cannot marry a certain tribe. You're from a certain tribe, so you cannot, mingle with certain tribe. So those type of curses or contracts were probably enabling a form of, I want to say, expansion that was useful for a certain era or a certain period of time, okay? But for the evolution of the soul, it is limited. It is limiting in terms of, mingling of species, evolution of species, evolutions of knowledge, encoded into the DNA. So it was kind of a form of arrest development for the soul. So let's say, for instance, you grew up into a tribe or into a culture where, the practice of caste is very strong, right? Yes, you're going to probably have this original DNA or this original signature, but it's still limited to this vessel, this 3D identity, which is not necessarily conducive for the evolution of your soul. So maybe at some point, as to where you are on your journey as a soul, you're probably going to want to break free from that curse or that contract that did not allow you to marry or intertwine with another tribe, another person, another source of DNA or, source of signature or, limited 3D signature. Because again, when you start breaking free from those curses or those contracts, ultimately you are going to start to, first of all, feel lighter, feel more liberated, and then you're going to be in the space of attracting those that are similar or that are walking on the same journey as you. But you're always going to as well attract opposition, because it's just part of the game, right? If you know universal laws, you know that there are different laws that allow for this realm to be functional. Without those laws, well, then this realm could not function, right? So there is going to be the law of polarity, where we say opposites attract. We're going to have the law of, oneness, where we recognize that we are all interconnected through our soul, not necessarily this meat suit vessel. You understand? So there are several things that we need to start understanding as, human evolving on this soul journey. Okay. So there are going to be different curses that are going to be placed upon you as you come into a family, you come into an identity with a name, with a culture, with a race, a color, a skin color, a certain type, if you are from a different genre, if your gender is feminine or masculine. So there are going to be limitations placed on your vessel, or on your vessel that encompasses or encapsulates your soul. And because of this life experience or that contract that you've agreed to take upon, you are going to recognize which types of contracts that needs to be broken, right? Tear down. Which curses are going to need to be broken in order for you to be more liberated and to be more in alignment with what your soul is asking you, or what your soul mission is. Ultimately, that is the biggest mission, is when your vessel, your 3D vessel, is in alignment with your soul calling, right? When it is in alignment, it's because you have figured out that many curses that you were walking with were no longer useful for you to fully acknowledge the existence of your soul, okay, and the mission associated to it, okay? So languages, people come into this world, not wanting to learn a language, but why should you not, right? Why should you not want to speak different languages, learn from different languages? Why should you want to stay limited in some form or fashion? And now, because again, we are here to transcend certain limitations. I'm not here to say what is right, what is wrong. Everybody's going to be different on their soul journey. So it is up to you to be connected to your soul so that you are okay. You are acknowledging all parts of your soul. Okay, so I'm not going to be here saying, we should get rid of gender. We should get rid of, these limitations or these 3D limitations. I'm not going to be here to say that. I'm going to be here to say that as human having the experience of evolving our souls, we're going to want to look at the different type of curses that was placed upon our vessel in order to keep us limited and misaligned from our soul calling or our soul mission. And it's going to be different and unique from one individual to another. So it's going to be your responsibility to start silencing the external noise in order to connect to what your soul is asking of you so that you can remember if you've forgotten as to what is your soul mission. And it's going to be different from one individual to another. Okay? That is why I feel like it's very important to reiterate. I'm not here to say what is right or wrong, okay? I'm here to say that we all have a calling, right? There is going to be protagonists, right? So there's going to be individuals that have a certain soul mission that is to destroy this old world, right? They're going to be seen as antagonists or, the bad guys or the one that are coming to tear down this old world, right? And then you're going to have people, protagonists or people that are playing the role of the good guys in their vessel. If they are in alignment with their soul mission, they're coming to rebuild a new world. Okay. And then you're going to have opposition in between of, all extremes of, where you are or what is your soul calling. So it's very important to get to that awareness that we all have a different, unique calling. And it's only when we start connecting to that calling or that voice or that light within that we can then start recognizing the type of curses that we need to break that was limiting our vessel. Right? And the more we can take responsibility and liberate our soul by breaking those curses that was limiting our vessel, we can then tap more into the type of soul mission where we are ascending to a higher type of contract or curse breaker that is going to be a global type of mission. Right, that is going to be interconnected into the whole or the whole mission of liberating more souls. Okay, so we can say that it's interconnected, the types of curses that exist. Okay, so there's one that's very global, and that's your soul mission. Prior into coming into this realm, you've agreed upon breaking a certain type of curse. Right? And then there's going to be the one that is associated to your vessel through your upbringing, the type of family you came into, the type of, identity that you held on to all while, coming into this journey or this human experience. And then, and I want to say this too, when we talk about curses, we can also talk about the type of reinforcement or the types of belief beliefs that were also instilled in your upbringing, right? So it could have been through, communication style. If you grew up in an environment where, your parents were constantly calling you names, right? So those were the type of curses or communicative style in which you grew up. But when you realize as an adult, you want to break free from those communicative style that was burdening you, or that was keeping you stuck into a certain form of belief that was limiting the evolution of your soul, you're going to want to break that communication style and come up with a different one that is more liberating and that is more respectful of the soul. Okay? So there are many, many different curses that are related to this identity or this, environment in which we grew up. Okay. So, one other type of curse that I also want to talk about is the one pertaining to race, right? Where, systems, whole nations and whole systems of authorities, of governments that were reinforcing different curses on different types of people, right? And that pertains to people of color, indigenous people, all kinds of people, right? Even curses placed upon, we want to say, Caucasian people. They had curses on them too, right? Some curses we can compare is the superiority complex, right? Where they need to have a certain lifestyle, a certain standard of existence, right? They need to have the bigger spaces. They need to have the bigger or the biggest assistance and help, right? Because they had a curse placed upon them as well. But it's going to be looked and judged differently than, the different type of curses that was placed upon, people of color, Black people, or people that does not resemble that other group, right? So all types of nations, all types of people had to break curses that was placed upon them from an authority entity, whether you want to call it a government, whether you want to call it an agreement of nations that came together in order to reinforce the belief that certain groups of people have the upper hand on certain other groups of people. Okay, so all these agreements that we've agreed to, right, in these, and I want to say this era of bondage, because it's really what it was, this era of bondage, these past centuries or millennials, or I don't know how long, but it was there for a purpose, to keep the human from experiencing a more evolved state of being, so that he wouldn't want to be responsible for the evolution of his soul. But as we are exiting this era of bondage, we are coming into the knowing that we are more than just this meat suit, this 3D meat suit. We are a soul. We are an ensemble of different types of soul. We are an infinity of possibilities, or an infinity of different or of different version of consciousness placed into these vessels or into these meat suits that are unique expression of that oneness or that source or that divine power or God, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And so, I just want to say that, so that's the second type of curse that we're going to experience. So it's going to have a lesser, or no, I want to say lesser importance. It's going to have a lesser degree than the one associated to the soul, but not that many people will take the steps. Okay. Not that many people will take the steps to break free from those I want to say 3D curses, or those 3D limitative curses, okay? Because it's going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take a lot of bravery to recognize that a whole lot of curses or a whole lot of agreements that maybe your parents, your community, your government, your nation, your neighbor, your friends, your family, a whole bunch of people agreed upon, and they're not ready, and they look at it as okay, right? So when you start breaking free, you start breaking curses, right? You're gonna eventually, on your journey or on your soul evolution, come into recognizing who is on the journey or who is on a similar journey as you, so that you can find your tribe, your true soul tribe, okay? Not the one that was limited into this 3D, into these 3D agreements or those 3D curses. So not that many people are willing, especially in these last 10 years, and even more so with the pandemic that we've experienced, not that many people have the courage and the bravery to even more so break free, or, break curses that were placed upon them in this, from this 3D reality realm. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take a lot of bravery for people to do those things, to break those curses. Okay, but it's doable, right? And I'm here to say that it is doable. You're just going to have to be very brave and very compassionate with knowing that you are worthy of aligning with your soul mission, that you are worthy of tapping into your own soul signature, your own soul truth, so that you can walk with a truth that is unique to your soul signature. And then it's like Mario Bros, finishing all the battles, conquering all these monsters, breaking all these curses. And at the end, he's awarded with, being a hero, or being, whatever title you want to give it. But it's just, now he has ascended, and he is able to liberate a whole bunch of people that was, probably rooting for him, or that were probably being in opposition with him. Okay. So that's just an example. Now, the third type of curse that you get to experience on this journey, or in the soul journey, as a soul having a human experience, right, is the one that you are going to create or recreate through your choices or your free will. Okay. Now, I like to call these type of curses the blind spot curses, okay? Because they're the ones that you don't really pay attention to. They're the ones that get you, or I want to say catch you off guard. I want to say it's also the ones that you get to pass on to your community, or pass on to your children if you have children, or you get to pass on to your entire community. So the third type of curse that we get to experience on this journey, the soul journey, I want to say, are the blind spots curses, right? Those blind spot curses are going to be the type of curses that are the hardest to break. Okay, because not only probably they were placed upon you or forced upon you throughout your upbringing or throughout your childhood, you probably grew up into them, and you probably did not realize if they were hindering your soul progress, probably because you have not awakened through a form of event or experience or life experience that allowed for the shadowing or the reconstruction of your identity, or you have just not gotten on that journey yet for whatever reasons. Okay, but those type of blind spot curses are the hardest one to spot, because it can be related to your diet, the way you eat, the way you think, the way you have values, morals, ethics. So it really comes down to the nitty gritty part of your identity that is not necessarily seen, right? That is not necessarily readily, identified as soon as someone looks at you, right? It's going to be things that are going to be part of your lifestyle, right? Do you have a discipline of life, right? Do you have a lifestyle that is disciplined or not, right? Or are you, because you saw your mom and your dad drinking or using substances, you grew up with that and you have never questioned that, and you yourself start, doing the same, or, holding on to those same habits. If your parents groomed you a certain way, or, they were verbally abused, or they were, they shaped you a certain way. And let's say, for instance, you have children, you instinctively will start passing on to your children those types of habits, right? So they are less visible to the eyesight because it's the habits, right? It's in your everyday life. It's in the thoughts that you entertain in your mind. Were you the type to be a self-sabotage human being, always talking you down because when you were growing up, your parents talked down on you? Or, are you entertaining high positive thoughts? Are you the type that can alchemize emotions? Are you the type that can, are you resourceful in terms of, adapting to situations or adapting to your identity that is evolving? Or are you more resistant to change? And if you are, or if you have resistance to change, where are this resistance coming from? Can you pinpoint them? Can you say, well, I have a defense mechanism when this situation arises or those circumstances happen, I'm going to fall back, or I'm going to scream, I'm going to shout, I'm going to be very violent, or I'm going to fall back and be very silent. Do you know all the types of expressions? Do you know how you react in certain circumstances? Do you know how, if you have a certain set of belief, that, that there is a higher calling, that there is a higher purpose for every and each individual on this earth? Are you, so we get into the nitty gritty of your identity. Okay. The certain set of curses, it's more, you can target it more easily because, again, you can identify with the color of your skin. You can identify with the race, with the country, with the culture, with the traditions, because it's more community. It's more based on a community sense where it's going to be readily common, or it's going to be a common thing because, it's not just you doing it. It's a lot of people doing it in your community or in your country or in your tribe, whatever have you. But the third type of curse is more different, right? It's going to be the human that is probably has entered adult life or has experienced things or has had many life experiences, get them to realize that, they probably do not need to repeat some of their sets of belief that were passed on to them, growing up. Right. So now they have more awareness. These types of individuals have more awareness into, the type of legacy or the type of heritage that they want to pass on to their child or their children. Okay. So when you start becoming a parent, you start bringing life, or you start bringing more souls onto this world, you're going to want to have this awareness of the type of responsibility, the type of values, morals, the type of ethics, the type of habits that you are passing on to your children. Some will do it prior to having children, and some it's going to be when children are here, you're going to get that awareness. Okay. So it's an awareness that is more, that has taken that responsibility and that has taken that purpose of, changing and transforming your 3D vessel or your 3D limited identity from what you were taught to what you believe your beliefs are. So there is a transformation, and those transformations can arise from different life experiences. They're not limited to having children. It could be through a loss of a person. It could be, most of the time it's through traumatic events that will shamble a part of your beliefs, right? That shaped your identity. Okay. And that's going to enable you to start looking at the type of contracts or curses that you are carrying, that you are going to start, questioning as to whether or not you want to keep carrying those contracts or you want to break those curses, literally. Okay. And so the third type of curse is more subtle, right? It's only when you're going to be talking, thinking, acting, reflecting, right? It's going to be more personal to you. It's going to be more into your everyday life, right? Are you the type that needs to sleep 8 hours to be fully recovered, or do you just need 5 hours of sleep, right? All these things are going to be experienced in your day-to-day life, where you're going to be more, if you have that awareness of looking at every aspect of your life, starting from within, and now questioning, is that in alignment with where my soul wants to take me? If yes, then good. If no, then you can have that, or you have that responsibility to break that curse and bring in a new set of belief pertaining to whatever contract you just broke or decided to not fulfill. You understand? So I hope that helped. I'm not sure if I rambled or I talked for 42 minutes. Okay, I didn't want to make it too long, but I feel like we need to come into the awareness that we're not just meat suits who have desires and are here to fulfill, what our parents did, or, we're not just limited to this 3D realm. We have a higher calling. We have to look at the type of awareness we have regarding our own identity, our own life, the type of experiences that we had growing up, where we are on our journey right now, the type of partnerships in which we are, what type of partnerships are we accepting in our lives? Are they based on healthy communication, or are they based on codependency? Are they based on emotional abuse, or are they based on reciprocity in all sense of the word? So when you get to understand the type of curses that exist, you get to take that awareness a notch further, and then take the responsibility to look at your own identity, your own life, and decide and choose for yourself if you think that this is hindering the progress of your soul calling, your soul mission, or it helps you, or it liberates you more. Okay? Because again, ultimately the purpose is to align your vessel, your identity, to your soul mission or your soul calling. And your soul calling is going to be different from one individual to another. But the purpose is to get into alignment. When you get into alignment, there is this inner knowing. There's this trust that is built. There's this reassurance that exists, that you are no longer just taking any form of contracts or curses. You are reading the fine print, right? I was looking at the other day, the movie Shrek 4. Okay, I think it was Shrek 4. And in that movie, there's a trickster. right? You can look at it as, you know, the trickster being the devil or whatever you want to call it. But most of the time, a trickster, what is it going to do? It's going to talk to you, tell you, you know, all the advantages of coming into contracts of them fulfilling your wishes, right? And most of the time people will be like, oh my God, you can fulfill this? You can fulfill this wish that I have, right? And most of the time it's based into not necessarily the things that we need to evolve our soul, but it's things that we want. Because again, we are placing our awareness only on this limited identity or perception of what our identity is, right? So we have these wishes that is not necessarily in alignment with our soul calling, but because again, it is a perception or it is a belief that we have about our own identity, that we want that wish or we want that contract or we want to carry that curse. Okay. And most of the time, you know, the devil will prep you a nice contract, you know, will read you, you know, all the good things that you're getting by, you know, exchanging your promise through a promise to pay, a form of exchange, whether it's, you know, some will say selling your soul. But what I want to say is when you get into these contracts, okay, whether they were placed upon you or it's actual contracts that you've contracted or curses that you've contracted through your free will, through your choices in life, you will realize that they were served their purpose for a certain limited time, right? Once whatever contract or curse was fulfilled for that time, if you are aware, you are going to come to the realization that you no longer need it, and you're going to break the curse, or you're going to fulfill or not that contract. And the choice is always going to be yours. Okay. Now, you know, because we live in societies where, you know, banks, institutions, governments came up with rules and regulations that, you know, if you do not honor those contracts, if you do not honor those promises to pay, whether it's through a car, whether it's you contracting a mortgage, whether it's you buying a house, whatever it is, whatever form of material possessions that we are selling to you, right? And, you know, there are all these rules and regulations, and there are the fine prints, and there's the bank saying that, you know, we will take back our possessions if you cannot pay them. Ultimately, what is it saying? They are saying to you, if you cannot fulfill that contract, okay, then we are taking back our possessions. Okay. Now, you can look at it as how long is it going to take for you to fulfill that contract? If it's a car, sometimes it's 5 to 10 years. If it's a house, it's usually 25 to 30 years. Now, if you look at it from the perspective that your identity is limited to this vessel, you're probably going to want to have these material possessions, and you're probably going to want to hold a job or a stability in order to fulfill those contracts, in order to carry those burdens until the end. But if you look at it from the higher perspective, that you are not just limited to this 3D identity, you are more than that. You have a soul calling, right? Most oftentimes than not, you're going to make decisions that are in alignment with that alignment, that are in alignment with your soul contract. And when you start making those decisions, you are going to realize that the big house that costs, or, you know, that was going to keep you into a curse, into a 30 or 40 year curse, is not necessary. You're going to realize that, to pay a car, you're probably going to want to lease a car instead of buying a car, because again, the material possession is going to devalue over time, but you're still going to have to fulfill that material possession or that promise to pay, right? So you're going to start thinking differently because you're going to be in alignment with your soul. You're going to realize that a lot of material possessions aren't necessarily fulfilling to the soul, right? But it's gonna, it's a journey to get there. It's a journey to get there. You know, the $60,000 watch that everybody is, is going after, or, it's only the 1% that can get it, right? If you're wealthy and you're stable, yes, you can probably get it, but is it in alignment with your soul purpose? That's the question that you're going to come into as you evolve on your soul journey. You're going to start realizing that material possession isn't trumping anymore your soul calling, because you're guided. You are in alignment. You are listening to a higher purpose, a higher perspective of your identity that is way broader than this 3D limited reality. I hope it makes sense. I hope it does. So it's me, the Infinity Midwife. I was live with you tonight. I like saying that. I'm stealing that from this radio host. What was his name? Tonight. I don't know if you in Montreal. There was this radio host that was hosting this show on Saturday night. I can't recall his name, but why is he popping into my head? Shout out to him. I hope he's alive and I hope he's well. So guys, that was the Infinity Midwife coming to you once again. If you like that video, like, share, subscribe, turn on your post notifications if you want to get updates on when I'll be coming live. And yeah, I'll see you later.